Welcome to the channel, my name's Shane. In today's video we're checking out this is the Molus X60 RGB Cob Light combo from the folks over at Zhun. Now huge thanks to them for sending this out, I really appreciate it. I'm going to try my best not to pronounce the company name too often because I know I'm getting it wrong, so bear with me. But this is a great little cob light that's super bright, and I'll show you how bright it is on 1%. That's 1% brightness in CCT mode. Now, this does full RGB, it's got effects and all that kind of stuff built in, and we'll cover all of that through the video. Now, just to let you know, if you're a regular subscriber, I'm not scripting any more of my videos. I don't enjoy the teleprompter, so I've just got notes on the screen here. So if you see me looking away, I'm just referencing my notes. I think it'll make for a much more enjoyable video for me producing it and hopefully for you watching it. So let us know. Anyway, let's get into it. At the time of shooting this video, these lights come in at $329 US or 479 Australian dollars, which is kind of getting up there in terms of price. So we'll talk more about the value of these at the end, but I'm really impressed with what these have to offer. I love the little control panel on the back. The build quality looks really good. I think overall, this is a really sturdy unit. Let's cover everything that we get in the box. Including the box, we get this carry bag. These are great. These are really handy if you want to take your lights with you on the go and keep everything organized. We get the Molus X60 RGB cob light. Included, we get a mini reflector. This just literally clips straight onto the front of the light like this, and you can release it thanks to the clip on this side over here. We also get a mini diffusion dome, and this is great for softening the light so you don't go blind looking at this thing if you're using it in a studio situation like this or pointing it towards someone. This really does soften it out. We also get a high capacity rechargeable battery that has an LED indicator on there letting you know how much charge is left. Now these lights also work on AC, and the great news is it comes with an AC power supply. So if you want to use this indefinitely on power, you can, and I think this is a really great addition. Now if you want to carry the cables separately, we get this nice little carry bag. And lastly, we get a USB-C cable for charging up the battery. Now let's talk about battery life and runtime. So depending on how bright you have the light set will depend on how much battery life you get. So if we run these on CCT mode, for example, at 100% brightness, we're getting 50 minutes of runtime. If we turn the output down to 67%, we're getting 1 hour and 12 minutes. And at 33% brightness, we're getting 2 hours and 10 minutes. So it's basically doubled at 33%, which is fantastic. So I've currently got this at 1%. So you can imagine how much more we're going to get at either 10% or 1% or anywhere in between compared to 100% output. Now behind my little table or desk here, you can see I've got this horror mask, or you might not be able to see it because it's completely blown out. I'm going to show you what this does to soften the light here. So this is at 1% brightness on CCT mode. As I bring this up, you can now see more of the iconic boat zombie mask from the Lucio Fulci classic from 1979 called Zombie or Zombie 2. So you can definitely see more details in it now. And as I move this away, boom, it's way brighter and it's blowing out the shot. So if you're going to be talking to the camera, always have this on if it's facing you because, yeah, just having this anywhere near your eyes without this on is brutal. So just keep that in mind. One of the cool things about this light is you can use the panel on the back to dial in your settings, or you can use the ZY Vega app, which is free, and that allows you to get extended functionality. You can also match colors using your camera, and I'll showcase all of that coming up a little bit later on. To mix things up, I'll show you how some of the functionality works on the back of the unit and then also show you how it works with the app. We're going to start on CCT mode. Now the way that this works is once you power it on, you've got these two controls here. These are also push buttons, and I'll explain how this works as we go through it. But essentially, this particular one here will change the CCT value, and this will go anywhere from 2700 Kelvin, which is that tungsten or really warm light, kind of like a candle, all the way up to 6500, which is the coolest light. Now in the studio, if you plan on using these as an overhead light or whatever, set them to around 55 or 5600 Kelvin. That will give you a very similar light to what I'm using to light up my face here in the studio. This top control over here does a few different things, but you can go in 1% increments just by turning it up or down like this. Or if we want to get quickly to 50%, we can do that just by tapping the button. Tap it again, it will go to 100. Tap it again, it will turn it off. I really like this feature, so if you're used to setting it at 60%, you don't have to spend most of your time just turning the wheel. You can just go to 50 and then quickly get to 60%. All right, let's take a look at RGB mode, which is one of my favorites, especially for creating atmosphere here in the studio. So if we tap this button, it will take us into RGB mode. Now this particular dial will allow us to change between each of the three settings that you see on screen here. So we've got our dim, which is our overall brightness. We have our hue, which is the color of the effect. I've currently got it set to a yellow one right here. and our saturation level is at 100%. So this will give us the most color. Now, if we go back up to this one, if we tap this button over here, it will allow us quick access to different colors within the light. So if I tap it once, it will go green. Tap it again, it's 240, which is that classic blue. It's the same color I've got right behind me right here. 360 is red. 120 is green. Now the cool thing is we can go anywhere in between just by moving this around, so you can find the right color for your studio. This is great if you have a YouTube channel, for example. You can kind of brand the color of the studio. Think Gerald Undone or my blue light back here. It's always blue, or it has been since I moved to this house. Just a really great way of creating consistency. So this is awesome. Let me show you how bright RGB mode is. So we're at 0% brightness right now on 240 degree hue, so it's currently off. Let's just quickly go up to 50% by tapping the top button. Boom, that's 50%, 100%, so that's nice and bright. And off, you can quickly go back to the off mode as I showed you before. So this is great, and if that's not bright enough for you, you can of course take this off and set it anywhere you like up to 100%. So taking this off will drastically impact the brightness in every mode. Let's take a look at the built-in effects, starting with SOS. Now you can control the speed and also the brightness of each of these as well. To cycle through them using the panel on the back, we use this one over here. So this is SOS, you can see it blinking away. We've got paparazzi, which is a camera flash. We've got candle, so this will be like a flickering light. This is probably a little hard to see here in the studio. You might be able to see it. It just depends on how obvious it is with the little dome on here. We've got bad bulb, great for horror movies. We've got TV, so this is to emulate a TV on in the other room. You usually see reflective light coming off a room with a TV on, so that's what that's doing. It's doing it really well, so that's cool. Over to lightning, which is one of my favorite effects for short films. I love horror movies, as you can probably no doubt tell from my crazy mask over here. CCT flash. That's doing exactly what it is. CCT effect, flashing. CCT pulse. So this is ramping up and down in brightness. Oh, there it goes. Look at that. That's cool. CCT loop. Let's have a look at this one. So this is changing color temperatures. Again, this might be a bit hard to see because of the exposure back there. Oh no, I can see it on that reference monitor. So it should be, yeah, it's changing colors back there. Police car. Man, this is amazing. This is really cool. Again, if you're shooting a short film, you need these effects. They're awesome. We've got disco as well. So if you've got a house party going on, you can throw that on. We've got firework, or fireworks, I guess it would be, but they ran out of characters on there. That looks great. We've got hue loop, so this will just cycle through different colors consistently without changing the brightness. It looks like it's doing a great job there. We've got hue flash, so this is cycling through the colors and flashing at the same time. Hue pulse. Actually, that's pretty cool. That looks good. And that's it. So if we go back to say something like this police car one, for example, if we want to change the other settings here, if we want to change the speed, for example, we can then change this up and make it as fast or as slow as we like, right? So this is cool. Again, for short film projects, these are invaluable. If you want the most flexibility with this light and the easiest way to control it, download the ZY Vega app, and I'm going to show you that right now. So we're currently in CCT mode, as you can see from the lower left-hand side. Now all of the different options are all across the top here, so I can simply change color temperature just by tapping on each of these icons on screen. This is great. It allows me really quick access to a particular color. I can also change the brightness just by moving the slider, and it works instantaneously, which is fantastic. Or I can use the CCT slider over here to get a particular color that I'm looking for. This is really functional. There's also a few different gel modes in CCT mode as well. So I'm just going to tap on a few here and show you the difference in the light to show you that it's instantly changing as I tap on screen. So this is great. CCT pair mode allows you to capture a different color in the room that's within that CCT range. So I've currently got a more tungsten light over here. If I capture that color by tapping on match, it then changes the color of the light. And I'll show you a different one here just to show you what it can do. I'll go up over here, boom. And now it's back to that daylight temperature. This is really handy, and it tells you that it's 6500 Kelvin, so just above the standard daylight. But this works great at just matching another lamp in the room. Now there's two RGB modes. The first is called HSI and the second is called RGB that I showed you before. So we're going to start on HSI mode. Now the benefit of this RGB color scope mode is the fact I can tap anywhere on the app here and have it change colors instantly like this. So this is very responsive. You can see just how fast it changes as I tap on the screen. Now there's also a color wheel here which allows me to cycle through any of the colors that I see on screen. This is awesome. There's also a brightness slider and also a hue slider, so I can use that as well, which I think is really functional. So this is great. You can also store your own preset. Say for example, you've got a color that you want to save and use all of the time for consistency. You can hit the plus option on the side here and it will add it to that top panel of squares. This is really handy. Now if we take a look at RGB mode on the top here, this will bring us into the same mode that I showed you earlier, but now it's a lot easier to find a color. So we can just hit red, blue, pink. It's a lot more intuitive knowing exactly what's about to come out of the light just by hitting the app here. So I much prefer this. You can also use these sliders to completely change the color. If you're thinking about just a straight up green color, you can make sure that you don't have any other color bled into that particular color. And this brings us over to the picker mode, which is very similar to the mode I just showed you before with the capture. I can get a different color over here. Let's try this blue back here. Boom. It will then turn blue, so I can match lights that easy in the RGB spectrum. I think the app functionality here is really impressive. Let us know what you think. Let me talk about a few of the things I really like with this light. So say for example, you accidentally knock the power button, it's not going to turn on. If you hold it down, it's still got a safety mechanism that says turn these to turn the light on, and then it turns on. So if you don't do anything, it will actually just shut itself back off. This is great if you're just transporting these kind of lazily in a bag without using the provided case. It means that if you do knock the power button or it still gets depressed, you have to turn these before it will actually activate. I really like this feature. Let's talk about some of the diffusion filters. So this is the rubberized one that you've been seeing throughout this video, and I'm glad they've included it because it really does soften the light quite a lot. This reflector here is so bright, man. It is crazy. Now, in some of their other packs or as an optional accessory, you can get this mini softbox as well. And I highly recommend these anytime you're going to be using them at close proximity to yourself. It really softens the light and won't make it overly bright if I'm just talking to the camera. Now, if you have a Bowens mount softbox, for example, you can also buy one of these. This is an adapter that allows you to then go out to a Bowens mount for a conventional softbox that you might find with some larger lights. But there's lots of different options, but just know this and the reflector are the only ones included. Let's wrap this video up. I'm gonna give you my final thoughts on the Molus X60 RGB Cob Light combo from Zhun. So these are very impressive considering how small they are. Check it out. If I'm not using the provided battery, they are tiny. That's awesome. It's actually as small or smaller than my LED light back here. Slightly thicker, obviously, but not quite as long. So these can do so much more than a lot of portable RGB and CCT lights that I've ever seen, and they just look absolutely cool. But when it comes to the functionality, this is what it's all about. So I love the CCT mode. It's plenty bright in here, man. You could see how bright it was at a distance of about a meter or so to this curtain back here. It was completely blowing out the shot, even at 1%. So yeah, with this on, again, it will reduce the brightness, but there's plenty of brightness in here. Now, if you plan on buying a pair of these for a studio, for example, you'll need to have the lights pretty close. And again, I highly recommend getting these little Zhun softboxes, these mini softboxes. They fold up beautifully, they're very portable, and it will be completely compatible with this. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But the RGB mode is great, especially if you're gonna be using them as background lights in the cliche YouTuber studio like I've got right here. Or if you're gonna be shooting a short film, all of those effects are very usable. I've shot a few short films using different lighting effects and so forth, and they all look really good. With all those great features aside, I think the biggest benefit of these lights is their size. They come in at 319 grams and they're tiny. It's unbelievable how much they've been able to cram into such a small light and still have active cooling. So yeah, I'm a big fan of these. I don't see too many downsides of it. I just would have loved to have seen the pack come with one of these. But again, if you need this, you can always get one. Or if you've got a Bowens mount softbox, you can buy the adapter and then you're set. So yeah, overall, these are very impressive. Let us know what you think, and a massive thanks again to Zhun for sending this out. I've actually got one more light coming up on the channel, so don't forget to subscribe and click the bell. It's another light from this brand. I hope you like this video. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.